Hello, hello. It's gonna be so exciting. This is probably one of my favorite topics ever, but I have not shared that much about it. This is probably the first time I'm gonna talk about it like this, so it's gonna be very interesting and exciting. I'm gonna talk about everything that has to do with mindset and having the right vibration and frequency to be in alignment with what you're manifesting and what you want to create for yourself. I do not understand why it is not working. Let's see.
Yeah, here
There
we
we
are.
go.
Better late than
Hey.
never. Technical issues.
Yeah.
How are you going, beautiful?
Good. This is so exciting. Um,
Yes, I am so excited to jump on and
mhm.
share our journey and share our
Yes.
tips along this journey, what we've learned, what we've applied, what works, what doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we've been talking about this before, but then so we've both been on this like journey of creating abundance and kind of like getting to the root cause of like how does this actually work? How do you create your abundance? How do you get, your manifestations and stuff like that? And then last week you shared very vulnerably, and it was so amazing. You shared on your story about like kind of like a block that was going on for you, and I feel like it's always been like this thing where we like get to the next level and we understand something. And then, of course, like, going down that journey, it's like something else comes up and we always get these new
Mm,
triggers and like all of that. So we're constantly learning. But I think
yes.
this latest lesson of yours was such an amazing one that it's definitely worth sharing. So if you'd start with what was it that happened last week?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I'm very good at recognizing my loops and my patterns. It's part of my human design to be able to recognize these patterns. And basically, I came to a point again last week where I was just in lack with money once again. And I've done so much work around it, and it really wasn't. I keep feeling like I'm almost there, right? I'm so close to cracking the code. Like it's just like these last old residues that I'm just like letting go of, releasing, that are showing themselves so that I can let go and just be done with this loop. And I just had this calling to share this on Instagram Live, more so, on my stories, more so just so that if anyone else is in that same situation can relate and just share what I do to navigate through those thoughts and emotions in those times, so that I'm not staying stuck in that lack emotional and that gripping so tightly and like strangling that energy because I'm, trying to control it from coming in, right? So I shared it, and I ended up manifesting and working with an abundance coach that morning. And so that was really, really powerful stuff because she was able to give me perspectives of some of the loose ends that I've been trying to work on myself. But that's her jam. She does all the abundance and manifestation stuff. So basically, I was telling this story, which I even said on the Instagram stories, is I'm
Yeah,
almost there. I'm
yeah,
on the verge. I've almost cracked the code. And she's like,
yeah.
you need to stop doing that. You're always a reach away from your abundance when you're telling
Mm,
yourself that. You're always almost there and you never have it here.
yeah.
And that I was like, yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm keeping myself just a grasp away from my abundance.
yeah, yeah.
So that was really powerful, realizing that I'm the one that's just, keeping
Yeah,
myself in the loop, and we all are basically
exactly.
unconsciously keeping
Yeah,
ourselves in these loops.
yeah, yeah. And I think that is such a beautiful example of like, it's like in our culture, like we're both, we have our roots in Finland, but specifically in our culture, it's like, it's such a like taboo to talk about money. And I think in general, like all over the world, like you're now in New Zealand, sure, it's the same there, but it's like,
Mm.
like not like you're not supposed to share, you're not supposed to talk about it, and specifically if it's like lack of money, like that's when you're like, at
Mm,
least like for me, it's like, oh, I'm such a failure if I share like what is going on and stuff like that. But then it's realizing like we're all in, like feeling those emotions, and we've all been there at some point,
yeah,
and it's such
yeah.
strength and it's so powerful to share that. And even when you did, like
Mm,
I was immediately like, I sent you a message like, oh my God, like this is amazing that you share, like so beautiful, it resonates so much, and like let's talk
mm,
more about this because it's such an important topic that people
yeah.
rarely have the courage to talk about. It's all about like the success and like once you made it, but it's never about the journey itself. And I think that's such an
Mm,
important reminder of like no one was on the top like the day they were born. Like they were, you know,
mm,
here, and then they started to like take those action steps, start to work on themselves and do the work, and then, you know, they were able to get to where they are. So I think that is so beautiful that you shared that. And we'll see, your internet is not working, but that's okay. Um, let's see. Okay, I can share my journey with coming to this same point. So, basically, the reason why it resonated for me so much was because um, lately, like for the past year, I've really worked a lot on my all kind of like limiting beliefs related to money and like all the stories. And I thought I was hello, now you're back.
hi.
Yeah, I started to share a bit of my story while waiting for you. So kind of like doing the
Mm,
work, and you think that, oh, now I made it to this like certain level or whatever. But then something else comes up and you're again like, oh, this is something we need to look at and heal again. And I feel like
mm,
for a lot of people, this past month, like probably Scorpio season, like we're all the triggers, all the shadow work. So for a lot of people, like old stories or beliefs have come up, or it's been like, okay, there is something that still needs to be seen and, you know,
mm.
thrown to the table, like, okay, what's going on here? And I think it's definitely been something that, yeah, a lot of people resonate with.
And I believe as well as we continue doing this inner work and really upgrading ourselves on every level, every upgrade we're going to have to face new shadows because it's those points we haven't met yet with ourselves. So of course it's going to bring up new shadows, new aspects that we have to face, and that's normal and that's okay. And just, you know, just face them and look at them, acknowledge them, and then transmute them.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. Where would you say, so like if we go back to like when we started this journey, like what made you realize like there is something going on here? Like I don't want to keep living this same reality anymore. Like I want to create my own.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think I was about 21, 22 when I just had that realization like, fuck, I'm in this loop where I'm that friend who, no matter like whatever comes up, activities or experiences, I'm the friend that's just like, I can't afford that. I don't have money for that. And at that point, I just got fucking sick of it. I was sick of it. I was sick of like holding myself back from being able to enjoy those moments and experiences with my friends. And I was just embarrassed and ashamed to always have this narrative and always have this excuse of like, I can't afford to do that, you know? And so at that point, I had that realization like, I need to get out of this loop. I need to do something about this pattern. And that's really when the work around manifestation and money mindset and abundance began for me. And then I just
Mm,
really started reading about books on working with the energetics of the universe. One of my favorite ones was by Deepak Chopra, The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success, and really understanding how to energetically work with the universe and with the laws of the universe to be able to live an abundant and successful life. And then it's all
mm.
just started from there and continued
Yeah.
on from there.
Yeah. There is always so much to learn, and I think it's so exciting. It's so fascinating. And I think that's also like one reason why we went into coaching, of like it's so fascinating to look at these limiting beliefs or like whatever is holding you
Mm,
back, like get to the next level, because it's just like what we're here to do. Like we're here to live a life filled with joy and fulfillment and
mm,
purpose, and that we can create the reality we desire and like all of that. So it's, I think this like
yeah.
whole journey resonates so much. And it was funny that
Mm,
you said Deepak Chopra, because I think the first time when I kind of stumble across like, okay, there's something more to it, was his like 21-day abundance challenge that was like going around. And when I
yes.
joined it, and I'm like, oh, these questions about like what were the stories that you heard when you were a child, or like what did
Mm.
people like, what did your parents tell you about money? And I was like,
Like, how
oh,
has that got anything to do with anything right
yeah,
now?
yeah. Exactly. And then like, oh, they're act like there's some like, and I remember the first time like I was writing them and I was so annoyed. I'm like, oh, it's so much work. But then
That resistance.
yeah, yeah. But then like what's been also so rewarding with this journey is that once I truly committed, like I
Mm,
saw like it went fast. Like I saw results very fast. So it's
mm,
very rewarding. And I think those like stories, like you shared, like it was beautiful that you shared that you felt that way, because I think a lot of people resonate, and especially like depending on
mm,
like where you live and like what kind of people you hang out with, it can be very hard to be that person who has to make up an excuse of like why you can't go, or why you don't, whatever. And it's still okay. Like
mm,
there's nothing wrong with that. It's
mm.
just like it still sucks. So it's
Yeah.
amazing that we can still find these tools, and like for you, like that just happened. Like once you're
Mm,
tired enough of your situation, you're like, let's fucking change this.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the universe is like, yeah, here is something for you to read, for
Mm,
example.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
And I think
that's,
that's something that a lot of people get to that point, and I think that's really the turning point. And
yeah,
hopefully, people can actually recognize to do the daily work without having to get to that point. But for
yeah,
most people, it's about getting to that point to just have that switch go off and be like, fuck this, like
yeah,
something needs to change.
yeah,
But once you learn the tools of inner work, you can really like not really have to get so up into those points,
yeah,
because you're just continuously staying devoted to your
yeah.
evolution, to your elevation.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. For me, it was like I started when I started as an entrepreneur, like I started to get money in, but I just like
Mm.
somehow lost it all. Like every single time, like I would get a paycheck, and then the next month it's like, where did that money go? And I was just like, what is going on? And it got to this point where I was like, I remember like, of course, like I'm gonna try my best, and I like really put myself out there. But then I also
Mm.
always had this reminder of like, okay, but if this goes to shit, I can rely on like my parents, for example. So of course that
Mm.
happened. So then I had to like
Yeah.
ask my dad for money, and of course he was like very nice to like help me out, and I made sure that I paid him back. But then once I started to like work on those questions, it was like one of those things where like, so what did you hear growing up? What did your parents say to you? And one thing was like, you can't handle money. And when I realized that I'm creating that story for myself repetitively, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so fucking sick of this, that now like this needs to
Mm.
change. Like I remember like it happened a couple of times, and then last year, a little bit over a year ago, I was like, okay, this is the fucking last time. Like it's over, like no more. And
Mm.
I also decided to quit my job at the same time. So I was like, this is really gonna be interesting.
Throwing yourself in
So
there.
yeah, so I'm like really like just like yeah. But yeah, I was just so tired of my situation. I was like, no, like no more. So then
Mm.
of course, then the universe came and backed me up a bit, and I found
Mm.
the resources to start to dive deep in. And one thing that also like with this journey is commitment. So I was so tired of my situation, as well as probably you were. So like, I'm gonna commit to this. Like, just give it my all, because like, why
Yeah.
not? Like, let's try. Like, it can't be worse than what's going on right now. So I committed
Mm.
fully, and that's when I saw results like so fast. Like, even
Yeah.
though I quit my job, like I started that journey of like really diving deep, and like 2 months later, like the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm gonna just give it all. I'm gonna create these like beautiful goals and all of that, which I think you
Mm,
can share more on. And then just like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna fucking do this. And then I saw like, oh, it's actually also working. So yeah, would you like to
Mm,
share more about that realization you had last weekend?
yeah. So basically, just really being very specific and getting really to the root cause of those unconscious stories
Yeah.
that you are telling yourself. And the only way you can really reveal them is through journaling or shadow work or getting a coach who can take you there.
Yeah.
Um, but really, just something as well from the coach I worked with last week, but also what Joe Dispenza is all about teaching in his medicine that he shares is about really living in that future self right now, but like emotionally, like really, really being so delusional.
No, we're losing you again. Just when we're getting into the juicy stuff. But yeah, it's definitely about that commitment and like really, really believing that what you want to create is gonna happen. And I think that was just a huge shift for me as well.
So really it's about we repeatedly are in these loops because we are actually living in the past. We are living in the past emotions, the past memories, the past stories. So, whatever we can do to get ourselves to already feel fucking good right now, no matter the environment, no matter the situation, and be so delusionally living in that next level self and really feeling it almost like it's a memory of your future
Yeah.
and really, really like doing the work. Like this is a muscle to work. It doesn't just
Oh yeah.
happen on the one go. Like you've got to be dedicated to this every single day. And something that helped me over the last few days is I actually voice recorded myself speaking affirmations of what I'm already like wanting and living
Mm-hmm.
and just putting that on loop and literally every time I'm in the car or at home I will listen to that on loop
Yeah.
multiple times a day and speak it out so that that narrative becomes louder than those low narratives that are trying to keep me small and that are trying to tell me why it just can't
Yeah.
work. And instead, feeding those abundant, expansive narratives into your
Yeah.
subconscious mind. And what I found within 3 days, I'd just be doing what I'm doing, and suddenly I'd actually be aware that I'm speaking those positive, abundant
Mm,
narratives now subconsciously. So, really, it's that mindset work, it's
yeah.
that belief. Like, what are you believing? What are the stories that you're telling yourself?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that daily practice is like a key point here. I remember also that I like once I started like literally every single day I would listen to I joined like a course and I was reading all the books. So like every single day I would either listen to something or read a book or
Mm,
like do some kind of work. And what I noticed now, like no wonder these like new things came up because I have been lacking. I haven't really fully shown up in that way. So
mm,
once I noticed, I'm like, oh shit, like we need to change this here. So I started to
yes.
pick up that habit again, because it is truly something that you have to put the work in. And I think that is
Mm,
where it's beautiful. Like when we come to like working with the universe part of this, is like once you show the universe, or once you just show yourself, you show energetically that you're committed, the universe is
yes.
going to have your back. And
It's
then you're,
co-creating,
yeah,
co-creating with the
exactly,
universe.
exactly.
Mm,
And it's also like allowing that space for the magic to happen. So like one
yeah.
thing that a lot of like my teachers in this have thought, like, so if you expect something to happen, it's like if you just like, let's say like, okay, I want to have a 10K month, and you have
Mm,
no idea where that 10K is going to come from, but that doesn't matter. Just be like, that
mm,
is what I want. Here, we're going to go here. You're doing the work, you're doing the mindset work, all of that, and let the universe figure out the rest. And I was
yes.
really skeptical about this until it really happened
Mm,
to me, and I was like, oh shit, this is like
yeah.
actually how this works. And
Yes.
once I like noticed that, and it's all about energetics, like everything, like how, like your frequency, your vibration, like all of that. And once I
Yeah.
like saw it actually happen, it was like this, something just like clicked. And I was like, oh wow,
Mm,
we're at like
yes.
big stuff going on here.
And something I want to point out with what you just shared is, I've been really involved in the self-development for many, many years. And as much as I already believed so much and had studied so much about how manifestation works and such, I still had resistance around fully trusting in that
Yeah,
knowing of what you just said, of that, like knowing what you want, stating it, and allowing yourself to be open for it to come through in any way, shape, or form without you needing to know how.
yeah,
But when you're in that state of like, fuck, but my bills need to be paid in a few days, that stress that comes on, that you
yeah,
end up suffocating that
yeah,
energy of receiving because you're
yeah,
trying to control the outcome. And then your perspective ends up being, oh, but it needs to come from my actions that I've
yeah,
taken. Right. So it's very easy to get to that and not being able to surrender and
yeah,
trust in that manifestation to come through, and then you're basically getting in your own way of that manifestation being able to show up. What you're doing is pushing it further away from you. So again, it really for me has only just in the last couple of months probably fully clicked, where
yeah,
I'm able to fully 110% trust and surrender into that knowing. And it just once again takes work. And
yeah,
something that I will say, if you still aren't convinced, keep searching
yeah,
it, keep diving into that knowledge, convince your subconscious mind by proving over and over and over again from what you're learning. Um, and until you really are like, yeah, this is it, this is a knowing, this is a fact, like this
yeah.
is how it works.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that trust is such an important one, and safety as well. Because if we
Mm,
don't feel safe, then that it's not gonna work. So
yeah.
like one thing that I noticed, like, well, just in like general when you start your healing journey, like feeling safe is the like that's a root chakra, like it's the base.
Mm,
So start
mm,
asking yourself like, okay, how can I make myself feel more safe? Is it like,
yes.
doing something that you like, taking a warm shower, a bath,
Mm,
just like doing something for yourself, and then you will feel more safety. And that's when you can like
yes.
move into the next level, which is then like start, like that is when we are starting to attract stuff. So it's so
Yeah.
important to always remember the safety. And I was definitely reminded of this. Um, just like, well, actually, it was like this was kind of when you had your stuff going. I'm like, yeah, I feel because one thing that has been, I think, also like in my family, like family line, like coming down, like ancestral trauma, like around that,
Mm,
like lack of money, and then that means you're not safe. And
yeah.
once I started to attract money, I was like, because of course, like you feel stressed, you don't feel safe, but then when you have it, you're like such a relief. And
Mm,
for the past, like from the beginning of the year, like I haven't had that fear of like running out of money until I
mm,
decided to hire a coach. And I was like, I was putting like everything I had on my business account at the moment. Like I knew I had stuff coming in, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this decision and just like put it all in there. And
mm,
I got reminded of how it feels when you are afraid of like how are you going to pay your bills. And I hadn't had
mm,
that feeling in a couple of months because I had, really put in the work, creating the abundance, and then I was like, "Oh, this like I felt really low and then I got sick and everything." So I was like really like dwelling in that like fear and just like, oh, it was like awful.
mm,
But the lesson from that was like, okay, so apparently money for me, like having a certain amount, like a couple, even like maybe 2K in my bank account is a necessity for me because otherwise I don't
mm,
feel safe. So now going forward, I'm gonna make sure that it's always there so that I never
mm.
run out of money. Like that is gonna be my limit. Like if I don't have that, then we're not spending anymore. So I think that
Yeah.
was such an important lesson for me to get reminded of like, hey, this is how you felt like before. And I think it was also
Mm,
needed for me to go back there because this is something that I have wanted to share more of. But I kind of had it like privately, but now I'm like, okay, so apparently I needed to remember how it feels and no more, never again.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Mm. Yeah, a couple of things with that is it's interesting because there's the difference between financial literacy and learning how to invest and such so that you can continue growing your money. But then there's the side of like the manifestation, right? So it's two different ball games, but part of the
yeah,
same game of creating that wealth for yourself. But basically, what with the manifestation of money is if you are still feeling that fear.
it's always when Michelle starts to talk about something very important. It's like internet is like no, but yeah, it's definitely the fear that is getting in the way.
There's something
There we
trying to
go.
keep us from sharing magic.
No, yeah, I
Like,
just said it. I'm
no,
like,
don't tell the people the
exactly.
secrets.
Yeah,
So basically, what I was saying is, you know, when you are afraid of that spending, you are in that lack still.
yeah,
You're still fearing that it's not going to come in. I can't spend anymore because I'm afraid it won't continue coming in. So it's very interesting with that side of things, with the energetic manifestation side of
yeah,
things, is recognizing that is there still a lack where it's that fear that, oh,
yeah,
but I do need to have this money so that I'm safe because
yeah,
what if it doesn't continue coming in?
yeah,
But then there's obviously the financial literacy of side of things where it's like where it teaches you all about, you know, investing a certain
yeah,
percentage of your income, saving a certain percentage of your income, and then spending a certain
yeah.
percentage of your income. But just recognizing the two and then combining them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And one thing that was really, I think, key to this was also the spending part of like the one that I did was like, okay, we do invest, we do have like this and this and this, like different money jars,
Mm,
but then the play jar, like remember to also do those
mm,
things for yourself. So in the
yes.
beginning, it was hard to be like, is this really that much I'm allowed to spend on myself every month? And I'm not gonna like run out of money. And it's like, yeah,
Mm,
you truly are. And it's the
mm.
most important part because we have to have that reward for ourselves of like, yeah,
What else is this for?
yeah,
Literally,
exactly.
what other point is all of this for
Yeah,
than to enjoy life?
exactly.
It's not just to pay
Exactly.
the fucking bills. I'll tell you that. Like, that is a fake, unreal narrative that's been fed to us to
Yeah.
keep us a fucking slave
Oh,
to
yeah.
this rat race system.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember once,
Mm,
so T. Harv Eker is one of the teachers that I've been listening to a lot. And
mm,
one thing that he said, like, so, you know, that story you have of like, okay, what do you want? Okay, I want to be able to pay my bills. Okay, so you're like,
mm.
I want to be able to pay my bills like every month. Well, the
Yeah.
people who do that, like, don't they always do that? Also, like, yeah, like somehow they manage to pay their bills, but that's it. Because that what
Yes.
they're wanting. Like, I want to be able to be like pay my bills. So that's what
Yes.
you are able to do and no, nothing else. So it's also like
Mm,
having that of like, what are you telling yourself? Like, don't just put that as your like, this is what I want, this is my goal. But like,
mm.
yes, that's like the basics. And then what
Yeah.
else? And that's
Yes. So
important to have in mind as well.
absolutely. So this is where for you another energetic way of manifesting is for you to actually know what you're going to spend that money on. So, how are you treating yourself? Writing a list of all the ways that you either want to invest in yourself, or you want to just enjoy and have pleasure around the experience that you're investing in or spending that money on. Because then you know as soon as, like, you know what amount you're calling in, and then you know as soon as you get that money, like, yay, I get to like do these things that I
Yeah.
enjoy doing. So really getting super clear with like what are you wanting for yourself? You're not just wanting money, right? Like this is
Yeah.
a thing that a lot of people will say, like, I want a fuck ton of money. Cool. but it's not the money that you
Yeah.
want. It's what you get with that money. It's the experiences. It's like
Yeah.
treating your family and friends. It's like doing those cool things, or, you know, whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's what you actually want. So get specific on what you are actually wanting and get your head out of like, oh, I just want to make money. I just want to
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then it's like, what, you don't even know then what you're aiming for. Like, what are you creating? What life are you creating? What experiences are you creating? What feeling with that are you creating for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Such a good point.
Mm. And something that I as well wanted to just quickly touch on before we move on, just the last thing from what happened after the coaching session on Friday. And so it's interesting. On the Saturday, I had a situation where I really had to, well, I got tested to really integrate all my knowing, all my wisdom, all my lessons. So I was served a fine dish of really testing out all that I knew, right? Um, and basically, through that, I really noticed, you know, there was like lack showing up again. There was this like trying to control again, and just really like being very conscious of it. It's okay to feel these things, but it's about like how long are you lingering in those feelings, right? Like that's what the key is like getting yourself like shorter and shorter amount of time of reacting to these things and these emotions. But something that showed its face for the first time to me, and as much shadow work as I've done and journaling and reflecting I've done, the unconscious story that has never shown itself to me before was that you're always setting yourself up for failure. And that
Mm,
was massive for me because, like I said, I've uncovered many, many, many unconscious stories. And the fact that that one has never shown itself to me. And then realizing, like, how many fucking times has that story unconsciously been holding me back from my greatness and all
yeah.
my fullness? As brave as I am, as confident as I am, as much as I've put myself out there, but how much grander scale could that all have been if that unconscious story hadn't
Yeah.
been there?
Yeah.
But now I
Yeah.
know, and it's like, bye, and we're moving the fuck on, and we're growing and we're expanding, and we are aiming for greatness.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like that self-sabotage and fear of failure and fear of success, actually. It's like that's
Mm,
been such a huge one. And once you realize that, it's like, okay, so the awareness is there. What can we do now? And
mm,
that's when it gets exciting. So what would you
yes.
say the practices are that people can start doing?
Mm, definitely what I would say, you can obviously pair the two of doing money mindset work
Mhm.
and doing the inner worthiness, healing, expanding, aligning work. But I'd say the top priority first is working on your worthiness and uncovering those unconscious stories that are keeping you small in general. Because abundance is about not just the abundance of money, it's about the abundance of
Yeah,
life and how you
yeah,
feel. And that will call in, and you can then appreciate what you're calling in. Because if you're just like waiting around for those certain moments or for that amount of money to come in for you to feel good, you're never going to fucking feel good
yeah,
because you're not feeling good right now.
yeah,
So definitely first thing is working on your worthiness and feeling fucking good and doing whatever it takes for you to consistently feel fucking good. Now, I
yeah,
do want to say this isn't about bypassing and
yeah,
suppressing your emotions.
yeah,
Please feel your emotions. Make sure you use like breath work or tapping to navigate emotions. Very important, but it's about how quickly are you able to come back to that feeling good
yeah,
and feeling that every single day. No matter your environment, take your mind to a place that makes you really feel good
yeah,
and do that consistently. You'll be surprised how much comes to you through just that simple act.
yeah.
Simple doesn't mean easy, but it is simple. And so
Exactly, exactly.
basically for me, tapping is very powerful. Do not underestimate the magic of tapping. It really pairs you with that tapping on the meridian points and the acupressure points of releasing that stuck energy in your body that can be from many years of, stuck emotions or trauma, etc., that are creating these stories in your head. And then at the same time, uncovering those shadow narratives or those limiting beliefs or those small stories. And then saying, I love and accept and forgive myself.
Yeah.
And that you'll be surprised how many people find it very hard to even say those 3 words to themselves. So definitely highly, highly recommend for everybody, no matter what your journey, no matter where you're at, whether you're just starting out with your inner work or whether you're already like years into it, tapping is going to be such a powerful tool for you to introduce into your inner work practice for sure. And so then with that comes as well, you can really dive deeper into these unconscious stories with shadow work and journaling prompts. This really allows you to get those things from your head onto physical, into paper, for you to not only release it out of your head, so you can allow space for new perspectives and thoughts to come through, but so you can actually physically look at what is going on in your head and uncover and face yourself, basically.
Yeah.
So those two in itself is going to be super powerful. Like I mentioned before, please introduce breath work as well, because a lot of this is going to uncover emotional things for you. There's going to be emotional baggage that comes with facing these aspects of yourself. So breath work is very powerful for you to be able to just feel those feelings and navigate them out of your system, out of your body.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like also like breath work and movement, and that is how we release the emotion. So I think for me, like one thing that has been like a big one is like dancing, just like moving my body and with the breath and like really sitting and tuning into your body. And that is also where the safety comes in, like you're actually there for yourself.
Yes.
So those questions I think are like very important. And I think that is like if you're new to this, like that is where you start, because you have to like kind of like see like, okay, what is going on? Where are we at? And then when you know where you're at, you're like, okay, so depending on what that is, there's different things for you to do depending on like where you are on your journey. But definitely the biggest question, like what are the stories you have around money? And how was it when you grew up? Like, what were you told? And writing those on paper, and then even like one thing with like money doesn't grow on trees, which is something that a lot of people hear. But then it's like, okay, but how, like, is this true? Is it not true? How is it not true, for example? So like money doesn't grow on trees. Like I think this is like the funniest one, because it's like money literally does grow on trees because paper, trees. So it's like, oh, it can't be true, right? And of course, like, yeah, let's take it with a pinch of salt, but it's just like a funny way of like, how do we how do we look at these statements and see like what part of them is actually true, or is there any truth to them even? So yeah, such an important
and
point.
just realizing how you witnessed money being handled as a child in your upbringing, realizing was there stress, was there lack, was there whatever the way that it was handled, was it counting pennies, was it like, oh, we need to just keep it to ourselves, like whatever it was, whatever you're experiencing, and then recognizing like how is that playing for you right now. And for me it was massively, well, I've had sort of two sides, but my predominant one was definitely about very stressful times around money. It's very stress orientated, and also like having to take action to make that money come through. And that there was no, and so that was something that I've really had to again surrender to, knowing like actually no, it's all about energetic alignment. As long as I'm energetically aligned and fully in my worth and in my belief that it's coming, I could literally just sit and it will come from fucking nowhere. And just being open to it being able to come through different channels, and not just the one way of having to take action for it to come your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so important. And I think also one thing, like maybe the last tip is to stay in that frequency. So like keep learning, keep doing, like commit to
Mm,
every day doing something that
yes.
you get yourself to a higher place, to your higher
Yeah.
self. And
Yeah.
that is how you're gonna, there's gonna be less of those like low points because you then can go up again faster. And that is
Mm,
like, who are you surrounded with? Like connect with people who have similar goals, who are like in that same like creative abundance energy. And then keep, and if you don't have anyone around, like keep listening to an audiobook, you know, of someone
yes.
talking about that, or just like surround yourself with that kind of moments. And that's definitely how I did, because when I started this journey, I didn't have anyone that would be a role model, like someone that I knew personally.
Mm,
So what I did, I just listened to the audiobook, and that was my person that I like knew. So
yes.
I kept
Yeah.
listening to that. And then fast forward only like 4 months, 5 months, now I'm like surrounded by people who are like similar. So it's like also allowing, like they will come, and trust the universe. Like then you will suddenly find yourself surrounded with similar minded people.
Mm, yes.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on that because this is interesting. So I'm in a partnership where we are not on the same page when it comes to money mindset.
Mm,
So it's very testy about staying in my lane and in my knowing and
mm,
in my work. And what I will say is if you're in a similar position where you have a partner who just are still in that limiting belief around how to manifest money, just tell them respectfully, like anything to do with money stories, please don't share with me.
yeah.
Please keep that to yourself until you're ready to do the work with me. But anything else, come to me. Come to
Yeah.
me, open up, talk to me, you know. But when it comes to the money and money mindset and stories, please keep it to yourself until you're ready to expand.
Yeah.
And this is the same with anyone that you're surrounded by that might have a limiting money story, is not taking on board their perception around
Yeah.
money, their stories around money, and recognizing, like, okay, are they living the type of life that I would like to live?
Yeah.
If not, don't take their advice on anything,
Yeah.
including how to make money or how to manifest money.
Yeah.
So being aware that that's going to happen, you're going to be surrounded by people, and it happens, like
Yeah.
you know, family, friends, and just knowing that you get to choose though, do you
Yeah.
want to be a part of that game or do you want to play your own game?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's so important. And I mean, here, you, whoever is listening, like, here's two people who are like in that mindset. So, like, hey, come to
Mhm.
us. Like, we got you. Like, we want to
Yes.
share this. And it's like such joyful thing. And I think it's funny, like the
Mm.
internet is like breaking up. It's like, don't tell anyone this
I
secret,
know.
because once you're on the other side, like life is so much better. And it's like, yeah,
Mm.
it's like so much fun, and it's playful, and like it's not that serious. We're all learning, we're playing with it. So
Mm.
I think it's a beautiful
Yeah.
journey that you're gonna get on right now if you start really looking
Mm.
into these things. So
Absolutely.
mm,
And you know, you can learn all of this for free on
yeah,
YouTube. And then you can also find what you'll find is whatever you're searching, the internet algorithm will feed it to
yeah,
you and advertise these things to you. What I've done multiple times, I've had an ad come up for a coach or a mentor who are providing free webinars around these things or free workbooks or whatever. Sign up to all of them
yeah,
and really like dive into other people's knowledge around this who have been doing the work, who are literally giving you free resources. But like I said, YouTube has it. You can literally learn anything for free on YouTube. So definitely money mindset, manifestation, subconscious mind, learning how the subconscious mind works. Would be like the three main things where it's going to be all around serving you in
yeah,
all ways, of creating abundance in your life, not only financially, but just the way
yeah.
you hold yourself and the way you play your life.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. There's so much out there, and yeah, and I also like want to offer, like both of us, like we've gone through this journey, so we are here to help as well, and we're both so passionate about this that it would be an honor to help whoever is needing that help to go through this journey. So, yeah, I am so grateful for everyone who joined this live and you guys who are listening to the replay. Um, yeah, it was so much fun, and we're both probably going to share more on this later as well because now we've opened the box. So it's going to be so excited to see what this journey has for you and has for us. We both keep learning, and yeah, it's a journey, and we're here for it because it's fun. And yeah, I was kind of wrapping this up. So is there any, yeah, I just said like this is such a fun journey that we've gotten on, and yeah, and we're excited for what is to come. Is there any last words you wanna share?
Just know your worth.
Yeah.
Know your full worth. Visualize what that looks like. Visualize what life you are able to create for yourself, who you're wanting to become, and be that now and create that right now. And stay dedicated to your visions and stay consistent. Even imperfectly perfect, stay consistent.
Yeah. And believe in yourself. And we believe in you. And anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yes.